welcome to another Checiegirl Creations video and the first week of the April Showers Art Challenge videos. So I will have 4 processes in this video, but the others will probably be a bit longer because there'll be more. It's just because the first week of April was like, what, 4 or 5 days? So this is a long one, but I didn't want to make it too fast so that you guys can see what was going on. So yeah, these are going to be quite long videos, but I guess since like a lot of us are stuck inside, maybe I can keep you guys company for a little bit longer than usual. So the first painting, the prompt was window, and my thumbnail was like the little girl. Her name is Lana. I think I mentioned that in the preparations video, which I'll link in an iCard in the top right hand corner if you want to see. So it's like her kind of pressed up against the window, seeing that it's raining. So I like have a thumbnail going on and I just kind of tested out the colors and stuff like that. I pretty much got like a kind of coffee sludge solution kind of thing going on in the jar that you saw. So I have that concentrated. Basically I just put some hot water in the jar and then I just let it dehydrate or evaporate, whatever you want to say, and until it was like this really thick tarry kind of like texture. So then it's more concentrated and I can just take that and dilute it however much I want in the palette. And I chose to get a palette especially for like challenges like this or Inktober, where I knew I would need a deeper well. So I would recommend to have a palette that's got a deeper well for whenever you know you'll be creating quite big washes. So I did the sketch off camera really lightly using the lightest coloring pencil I had. All the materials will be listed down below in the description, by the way, and I do want to apologize for getting my head in the video like a lot. Yeah, it's a bad habit. I'm trying to break myself out of it, but it's very difficult. So I start off. This one was quite experimental because like I knew how I wanted to color her, but again I wasn't like very practiced just yet in painting coffee. So as I went along I did find an improvement, but basically I just keep on layering up. I'm kind of treating it a bit like watercolors. So think of it as a bit like sticky watercolors, because the thicker the coffee is, the stickier it is. So you do have to water it down quite a bit to be able to paint with it, which means you do have to layer it up, and it does layer up quite nicely. I would recommend though, when you're using different coffee, to maybe like experiment. I'm using Nescafe instant coffee, and I don't know if it will be any different for other coffee. Just make sure that the coffee you buy doesn't have any milk or sugar already in it, just plain old coffee. So yeah, you just layer it up. It layers nicely. When you first put on like a layer, it looks terrible, like a really muddy, terrible mess. It looks as if the paper's picking up, but really I think it's just the coffee being strange, because once it dries, it does tend to kind of flatten out when it dries, which is good. So when I was doing this I was freaking out, but once it dried it looked a lot better. And then I use like the pencils to then kind of warm things up, but we'll get to that later on. Oh, and I did forget, on Patreon, the first part of the video, like the first illustration, I do like talk in real time and walk you through. So if you want to see that in like a real-time version, you can head over to my Patreon. There will be an iCard in the top right hand corner, but it will also be linked down below. And you can become a patron from as little as $3 a month. You will get early access to my Friday YouTube videos, and they'll be real time. So that was just a quick plug. So back to this. I did make a few changes with her design. I didn't have any of that like blush or freckles on her face, but her face just looks so plain and boring, and I love freckles. They're so cute. So I thought I would put like this kind of blush on. I think that's from watching like Drawing with Waffles and Lavender Town. They put blush on their faces a lot. So I thought I would try that. I really liked it, and then I decided to put freckles in. It was just, again, really cute. And I'm using a few different like round brushes. It's like there's a 12, an 8, a 6 and a 3. I'm using the 8, 6 and 3 more often than the 12. They're very juicy. They're from Hobbycraft. I will have like, once the challenge is over, I will have like a review video talking about the challenge, talking about the materials in more depth. And like some more tips for painting with coffee if you guys would like want to get into painting with coffee. Don't know if you will, but you know, whatever. So I will have like a kind of like a review of the materials and stuff like that. And if just in case you guys haven't seen the preparations video, the reason I'm doing this, one, thought it would be fun, and two, these illustrations will be for a short like story zine. So that's like the purpose of these illustrations. They are going to something. I will not be selling the originals just because I'm pretty sure coffee isn't light fast. I don't want to sell something that's going to fade really quickly. The zine will definitely happen with like the story and everything in it. I might do prints, I don't know, but the zine is a definite. Like, that's what will happen after the challenge is over. So yeah, so you guys can stay tuned for that, and by the time I make the review video, I'm sure I'll have more information on how that like will be going. So the water droplets I put on first around the background, and then after like I did her face and I put all the details in with the coffee, I use a fine brush as well. I'm a really small fine one for the details. I thought I would add most of the line art with the coffee because the pencil does kind of struggle to go over the coffee when there's thick layers because it's so like sticky, and well, it's not sticky then, it's more like shiny and slick. I'm adding most of the line art with the paintbrush, and then I do go in and I can strengthen the line art. I can like add shading and stuff with the pencils like I'm doing here. I use the warm like lightest color pencil for her face just to kind of warm her up so she's not that kind of cold brown, she looks a bit more alive. And then the cold browns I use for her clothes, sometimes in the background, mostly on her clothes. And then the like kind of reddish brown by Derwent, I use that in her hair, just to kind of try to separate some things. So like once I put all the details in with the coffee on her face and her hair and everything, I went over and did the raindrops, and then I'm going in with the pencils, and I also add highlights with the Uniball Signo gel pen. I use that to like brighten up the white of her eyes and just add highlights as well as separate some areas as well. So yeah, and one thing I can definitely say is from doing a few days of this, like you really do want to slowly layer up with coffee. You don't want to go straight to dark, especially if it's a textured thing like her hair. Her hair is supposed to be pretty much the darkest thing, but the reason I layer up is because if I was to just put down a dark color, I wouldn't be able to add in any detail, whether it be coffee, pencil. I can go over with the Uniball Signo, but it just won't look right. So I layer it up so you can see like the her hair strands. You can see her hair strands and it's more detailed, and then I can add that in even more with the pencil, and it doesn't look as flat. I don't want it to look flat. And yeah, so I really loved how this one turned out. I was so happy I started off on like a good kind of day with this. And yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. Oh, and I do post daily on my Instagram, my Facebook, and my Patreon. So if you guys want to follow along and you don't want to wait for the video to see the illustrations finished, you can check out my social media links, and all of that is linked down below. So day 2, this is her getting dressed, and the prompt is raincoat. And I decided that I didn't want to sketch with the colored pencil anymore because I didn't want to use it up. I have no idea where these pencils are from. I got these from my friend, and judging by the pencil case that she gave them in to me, that she gave to me, I'm sorry, English isn't working. I'm pretty sure she's had these pencils for many years, many years. So I don't know where they are from. And I didn't want to use it up because I want all my illustrations to look like similar, because it's for a whole thing. It's not just individual illustrations, it's all to go together. They have to work together. So I decided to sketch with a watercolor pencil by WHSmith. Nothing special at all. I've had that for years. It's just from WHSmith, which is like a stationery store. And that's useful, one, because when you go over, it does kind of like, you know, go away because it's watercolor pencil, but it holds its own for a little while. So it's easy to cover up, it kind of goes away, and it kind of warms up the coffee as well, because coffee is a very cold brown from like seeing how it looks. So that helps. So yeah, I'm using that to sketch with from now on. It's not too bad to rub out. It doesn't rub out completely, but I expected that because it's not like a regular pencil. So I feel as if I had a point that I wanted to tell you guys. Maybe I will remember. Oh yes. what I do is when I'm creating an illustration, like the next one, I will have like the previous one next to me so I can like match the colors. So like with her face, I matched like the skin tone. I did get this a bit dark, and actually I preferred her with like darker skin. I didn't want her as light as I did with the window one, but that's fine. I'm going to go with the fact that she was pressed up against a window, which probably meant that there was more light on her face, which is why she looked lighter. You see how I can spin things to make it make sense? So yeah, so I have like the previous painting, so I can match her raincoat color, her rain hat, her umbrella in the future ones, her face, her boots, and yeah, that really helps. I think when you're working in a series of things, especially if in traditional and you're having to like remix your colors, definitely have like the previous one so you can just match, and you'll see me through this video like matching up. And another thing I did, I planned out like where I wanted light and dark colors to be so that it would be easier to separate things with tones. Because this is pretty much a tonal painting. You're not using any other colors, so you really have to make sure and get your lights and darks right. I have struggled with some of the ones, and you'll see. And I think I'll have good and bad days just like anyone else, but most of the time I want to be able to have that separation. So her skin is kind of like on a mid-tone kind of range. It's dark enough so that you can see she is someone with darker skin color. Anyways, but she has a darker complexion, that's it. But then nothing else really is like her skin color. Everything else is either lighter or darker because I wanted her face to stand out. Oh yes, I did mess up with the lips here, but thankfully I was able to kind of blend it out desperately. You can't really lift coffee. You can't lift it at all. It layers pretty well. Sometimes it kind of picks up when you're layering, but you really can't lift coffee, so you want to be careful. Thankfully I was able to salvage it. But anyways, what was I saying? Oh yes, so her skin tone is pretty much her own, and then her raincoat and her rain hat are the same color, and they're a bit lighter than her skin. And then you'll see in a future one, her umbrella is lighter than her raincoat, so that would stand out for whenever like the umbrella and raincoat are like next to each other. And then her hair and her wellies are the same color because her hair and her wellies are so far apart, it doesn't matter, there's the same color. And that goes for borders like this. The mirror is like the same color as her hair, but that's okay because they're so far apart, it doesn't really matter that much. So yeah, so that's what I kind of did. So when I'm layering up, I just try to make sure and remember that and look at the previous paintings and like kind of make sure that all goes together. And what I want to say is every time it's ridiculous because like I know it's the case, but every time I do something where I don't add the line art before, especially with the coffee, it all looks like a blob and I freak out. I'm like, oh my gosh, this looks terrible. Then I add the line art and it all looks fine because yes, it's separated by color, but the coffee is so like blotchy and it's just different. It's not even a painting medium, so it's just different. It doesn't really it just doesn't really seem to just create a very nice border. Like I can get a border easier with watercolors. So once I add the line art, it looks a lot better. So just remember that if you're doing something and you're adding the line work afterwards, just remember once you add the line work, it probably will look better. And then it looks a lot better once I've added the line work. Again, the line work is nice and dark to separate everything. It's a couple steps away from sticky sludge so that I can still work with it easily. And I do have to layer up. I put like 2, maybe 3, but normally just 2 layers of line work. So I get it to like the darkness I want it. But yeah, so that's kind of like how I mix it. And I kept my palette in kind of like most of the time so you can see me mixing. Oh, and I have been using a pipette to squeeze the water into the palette. So much easier than like using the paintbrush to move water from like my water bucket to my palette, especially when I'm trying to create a large amount of pigment to like do a wash. If you don't have a pipette, you can use like a syringe or like something that you can squeeze and suck up the water and then like squeeze out again. So you might be able to find something else, but yeah, a pipette is really good. And where I get my pipettes are normally from Hobbycraft. It's like a pack of 3 for £1 or less, something like that is a really good deal, and they last really long. They've been with me for quite a few years. I don't use them like all the time, but when I use them, like, I think I've only broken one, and that was just my fault. I was being naughty, and yeah, I was messing with it. I think I was bored messing with it and I burst it. So yeah, they're pretty good. So if you're in the UK, you can go, well, I know you can't go to Hobbycraft right now because, well, of what's going on, but you can know for future reference. And I don't know, maybe Hobbycraft is posting at the moment. I'm not too sure. Yeah, I hope everyone's staying safe and like keeping yourself occupied. You can join in. I know by the time this video is out, it's been like it's quite far into April, but you don't have to like catch up or anything. I know I would want to get every day, but that's just me. And I think that's pretty bad when it's just me. Like, you know, you shouldn't have to be so hard on yourself. But if it's just for fun and you don't know what to draw that day, just check out the prompt list. I will have it at the end of the video just before the close-ups, and it will also be linked down below. It's on my Instagram, on my Facebook as well, and you can just check that out. And please do, if you join in, whether it's just 1 day, 2 days, the whole thing, doesn't matter. You can tag me, you can use the hashtags on that like prompt image as well, so I can like look at the hashtags and find you, because I would love to see what you guys create. And yeah, so I know it's really hard right now, but you know, just try your best to please stay safe, stay at home if you can, and don't only veg out on Netflix. You know, go, I know in the UK you're allowed to go for like 1 walk a day, like you can leave your house at least once, go for a walk if it's sunny. I know it's been sunny by me, it's crazy. As soon as like, you know, you can't go anywhere, it's like lovely weather. Ooh, I finished it. I was really happy with that one, by the way. I was really happy with it. Ooh, and another thing I did add to her design, halfway through like designing like the thumbnails, I added pockets because I figured an adventurous girl needs pockets to put stuff in. I was a collector. Well, I still am. I collect like coins and stuff, but I used to collect like all sorts of stones and shells and sticks, and I have a shoebox and it's kind of overspilled. So I figured she would need some pockets because she's probably going to collect some keepsakes from her adventure. So yeah, that's another thing I added, and that's something to think about with character design. Like, what kind of character is your character? What will they do? What do you think they would need? Like, what would they keep with them a lot of the time? Because like at some point she kind of only just keeps her umbrella around just on her because she doesn't mind getting wet. So I wanted to think about those things when I was designing her. But yeah, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, the current situation. Yeah, don't just, I know that it's crazy that the weather is all of a sudden like really good, but it's better to look at blue skies and gray skies, I think, especially like we're coming out of winter, it's spring. I'm really thankful it is sunny, because the winter's just, it's not great. I'm never really happy in the winter, so I'm glad that it's sunny and it's getting warm in the studio. Like I had to open the window today as I'm making this voiceover. I had to open the window. I'm so happy. But yeah, so, and you can let me know like what are you guys getting up to? How are you like handling things in the comments below? Yeah, I really hope these videos help to keep you company and like have it in the background while you like create and stuff. And if you are doing any other like art challenges, or you're challenging yourself in some way, let me know. And just remember, I know I've been seeing posts where like, oh, is it about like Isaac Newton or something and creating gravity, or one of the really smart people from history doing something like really smart, and it's like, yeah, you don't worry about trying to find like, you know, something magical and new to like come out of this and be like, I discovered this, it's fine. Like don't expect that, and don't put that kind of pressure on yourself. Just do things that will like keep you happy, occupied. Don't burn yourself out. I'm actually kind of doing that myself. I'm falling apart just a little bit, just with like, I'm so much busier than I was in March. It's crazy. But yeah, if you have the free time, just maybe do the hobby that you've been wanting to, read that book you've been wanting to, just like try your best to just relax, look after yourself, and most importantly, stay safe. So this one went pretty well as well. Like her hand up against the door, it's a bit dodgy, but actually both her hands will be dodgy for this whole thing, I'm sure. I'm not great with hands yet. I can't wait until I can like draw a hand confidently. That'll be so cool. I would have to make like a a post or a video about it. I just drew a hand confidently, but I think I did it pretty well. Yeah, like it was a struggle, but I'm happy with how I pulled it off. It's a bit dodgy, but I just don't look at it too hard. I just look at the whole image instead of just that one slightly weird hand. And in this one I was practicing more like adding shadows with the coffee so that it's like a base layer of shadows, and then I can go in and add like extra shadows with the pencils. So I want to use the pencils more of an accent thing than like a crutch. I want to be able to get most of the work done with the coffee and then just use the pencils just to add some texture, like, and just some accents and stuff like that, because I do like textures in my work, and the coffee is a very textured medium, if I can call it that. Like with the sky, when I added the wash, I didn't worry about making it like a plain like wash, because I figured it's probably cloudy skies, and things like whenever you're using a medium that isn't like meant to maybe be used as a medium, or it's just not that higher quality, instead of like looking at the things as like that's holding me back, try to use it to your advantage. So like for instance in the Sharpie challenge, which I'll try to remember to link as well in an iCard, they bleed a lot, but I just decided to use that to my advantage, and I used the bleeding aspect to help me blend, and then I was able to create some really nice blends. So you can find ways to make it work. So I use the kind of splotchiness, I just call it texture. I sometimes add splotchiness on purpose where I think it will look nice, like in the sky. I thought it would look nice with this kind of cloudy like atmosphere because it's rainy, right? So yeah, so you can just try to like use it to your advantage. You can practice more. I wanted to practice more with this, but I waited a bit too last minute. Oh my gosh, I was like, I finished the prompts, like the prompts and the thumbnails on the 31st, and I just had to go straight into this challenge. Future challenges, I really want to do Smorgas. I wanted to do Mermaid and Unicorn, but that's too much next to this one. I might do a couple, but I'm not doing the whole thing. That'll be madness and very unhealthy, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I want to do Smorgas and I want to do Inktober, and I'm going to plan those things like, I'm probably going to plan Smorgas like early May so that it's out of the way. I've done stuff, because like doing it 2 weeks prior, well, just under 2 weeks prior is absolute madness. So when you want to like do like me, if you want to put a little bit more thought into the challenge, if you want to make a story, or if you want to come up with your own prompts, do it a little bit beforehand so you're not stressing and then you have to go straight into it like mentally fatigued and stuff. Just like don't do it at all. Yeah, please heed my warnings. So yeah, I definitely would have wanted to practice more, but it's not too bad. It's a lot easier than I thought it would be working with coffee. I thought it was going to be absolute torture, because I've watched people do the coffee art challenge and they've enjoyed it. But like, of course you struggle because it's like a new thing. It's not really a medium, but I'm actually really enjoying like working with it, and it's not as difficult as I thought it would be. So that's really nice. And yeah, so it's around here. I realized I didn't add any like rain. Because like not in all the illustrations, they won't always be like you can't always visually see the rain falling, because it would make it look too busy, and you would just have to go, okay, well her umbrella's open, that's probably means it's because it's raining, but there's so much going on that I can't put those raindrops in. But for this I could, so I thought I'd just make it like straight down lines, and I was like, oh, hunky-dory, it's all good, and they just started to bleed. I knew that was dry. I knew it was dry, but it was just bleeding. And I don't know if it's the paper. I don't know if it's because it's layering on coffee. It's not because it's layering on coffee, because you'll see in the next one, I think is the next one. Yeah, because this one is day 3, prompt umbrella. Yeah, so the next one, you'll see it bled in the same way. So I've just decided to go with it. It's just weird, bleedy looking rain. And I add some highlights using the Uniball Signo, and I just call it a day. Yeah, there's no point me fighting it too much. Coffee takes a long time to dry, just be aware of that. and you do really want to make sure that your layers are dry before you go in next to it. So I do like jump around the page. So basically what I do is like I'll add color to like the biggest area that's like touching everything first, let that dry completely, and then I'll go in and kind of jump around the image. And you'll see my struggles for this one coming up. This one was quite, boy, because like I really liked how the previous one turned out. I didn't like this one when it first finished, but I'm okay with it now. I think it's just because I was so frustrated with it. I couldn't like see that it really wasn't that bad. So yeah, so this one I started off with the umbrella, and there wasn't that many areas like touching. Well, there was quite a few, but I could jump around with this one a bit more than I could the previous. So I started off with the umbrella, and then I went with like a face. Afterwards, I didn't do the raincoat because her neck and the raincoat meet. So I think I went and added the rain, and I thought I wouldn't have the problem I did with day 3. Oh, this is day 4 prompt rainfall, by the way. Yeah, I didn't think I would have the same problem with day 3 because I thought maybe it's just the coffee wasn't dry yet. I thought it was, but maybe it wasn't. It felt dry to the touch, but maybe it wasn't. And it still happened, and I just don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the paper. Oh, the paper, it warps quite a bit. I mean, it is Hobbycraft own brand, and it wasn't very like, it wasn't extremely pricey, and yes, it's 300 GSM, but it warps quite a lot, especially when I add a lot of water. So I don't know if I would recommend it or not. I think it's nice if you want to do just a kind of quick thing, but yeah, I don't know. I'll know by the end of the month. But yeah, so first thing that happened was with the hat. I didn't wait for the brim of the hat to dry properly, so that was my fault, and it bled. And then the rain, I'm adding the rain, and you'll see it start to bleed, and I was like, I just don't understand what it is. Yeah, I'm just deciding to go with it. Yeah. Strange. It's very strange. I can't figure out what it is. Maybe there's just too much paint on my brush, and maybe the paper just isn't absorbent enough. So maybe I will try that next time I'm painting in the rain. I will see if I can like maybe control that a little bit better. And the hat did bleed into the umbrella a little bit. I can't remember if I didn't wait long enough or what, but it did bleed into the umbrella quite a bit. But that was just the start. Had a bit of a rough ride with this one, and well, the next one will be in next week's video, but I had a couple of like kind of rough days. Like the umbrella was dry. I put in the shadow of the umbrella. I was trying to really pay attention to where like the light might be hitting, and it bled up into like the lighter part, the top part of the umbrella, and it was, oh boy, I was not pleased with this one. Like I had a really good 3-day streak, and then this one just like threw me a curveball. I'm feeling better though as I'm doing this like voiceover. I'm feeling a lot better. I'm doing the voiceover on day 6, and day 6 went well, so thankfully that was okay. But yeah, this was just, oh my god, oh yeah, it was just lots of like frustrated, why did I even bother to do this in coffee, what was wrong with me? But it's fine, it's totally fine. I feel better now. I think we all have those moments. Like when I was putting in the shadows, the raincoat was dry, and the shadows was bleeding into where there wasn't supposed to be shadows, and I was like, oh my gosh, why won't you listen to me today? Like, you've been so kind to me the past few days. What's going on? So yeah, so what I did wish is that when the raindrops like bled, they only bled at the bottom to kind of give it that drop feeling, but I guess when things aren't listening to you, they're not going to just like coincidentally just bleed in a very useful matter. So yeah, so I just decided, well, hopefully, because I mean, and the coffee doesn't lift, so hopefully when I add like another layer, it'll be okay. I did go a lot darker with her this time, like her hat and her face is a lot darker, but that's because I figured it's underneath the umbrella, so it would be. And I know as I'm saying that, I'm adding like the white gel pen everywhere. Doesn't make sense, but what I'm doing is, the reason I'm doing it, I'm also using it as like a way to add detail. So like I add the initial detail with the coffee, a second layer of detail with the pencils, and then a little bit more detail with the white gel pen. And I'll go a bit crazy with the white gel pen where like the light is hitting, but I'll also add like some slight bits with the gel pen as well. And what I forgot to do with this one, I was like, oh my gosh, her face looks terrible. Like, why does she looks like exhausted, like she's been through something. What is going on? But it's because unlike the window one and the raincoat one, I forgot to avoid the whites of her eyes for like the second and the other washes, so the whites of her eyes were really brown, and I was like trying to figure out what was wrong until I was like, ah yes, the whites of her eyes need to be white. So yeah, that was interesting. And the umbrella, I don't know why umbrellas are so difficult to draw. Oh my word, I'm glad that most of the illustrations her umbrella is closed. So glad, because wow, boy oh boy, did I struggle to get this sketch done. The next day didn't go too well either, but we'll talk more about that with the second video. So yeah, that was, the umbrellas are just really difficult. I thought I was only going to really struggle mostly with anatomy and like trees and stuff, but no. The umbrella is, whoa. I thought my like practice sketches were going to do it, but not at all. Yeah, umbrellas are tricky. And I'm sorry I'm going off screen. I got her eye really weird, but I thought I would keep this in just to show you that I had to turn her upside down, and I had to really look at her really closely to do that. And I couldn't see what right, it had gotten dark, so the lighting was a bit off. I put the coffee down too thick, so she was really reflective, and I had to get really close in to do the rest of her face. So sorry you had to like miss that part. But yeah, but thankfully, even after all the hardship, I don't feel too bad about this one. I am pretty happy with it. There's still some bits I would have changed, but what I keep reminding myself is, as long as they look good as a whole, because it's like pieces of a puzzle, they need to look good as a whole. And yes, there's some mistakes that, you know, I would have to completely like fix. If like, I wouldn't let it like a huge thing just go, oh, it's part of a whole. I would definitely pay attention to that. I also tried to put raindrops over the umbrella, instantly regretted it, so just try to blend it out and just say, oh, it's just a splotchy texture, it's fine. We'll just cover that up with colored pencil and white gel pen. It's okay. But yeah, just reminding myself this is a part of a whole. And as long as you can still see, it still reads well, it's okay. So I just keep reminding myself that this is my first like proper short story. I've actually written short stories when I was a child. If you guys are interested in seeing those, they are hilarious. I think they're hilarious. I don't know if you guys will, but if you're interested, let me know in the comments below, and that'll be like a future funny video. Look at my old drawings and old short stories, and let's all laugh at past me together. Not in a malicious way. I enjoy laughing at past me, so it's all good. So yeah, so I added a lot more shading with the pencils this time because there's a lot more shadow area, and I really enjoy doing that. And also highlights. And yeah, I think that's it. So, oh, and I've been using a Derwent graphic line maker pen in sepia to write on the back the day and the prompt for that video. Okay, so I think that's it. Video's coming to an end. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Sorry about the bird song. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comments. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you did enjoy. Press that bell for to get notified whenever I upload a new video. It's every Friday. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know, like, what are you guys getting up to? How are you keeping you guys preoccupied in like this time in the comments below? And I think that's it. Again, don't forget to tag me if you join in. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.